Hey you, how are you? It really be so indescribable sometimes what we're going through. But I just wanted to check in how you're doing. Wanted to share some space, hold some space for you. Is there any advice or encouragement that you're seeking right now? How do I balance grieving and showing up for the world, showing up for work, showing up for relationships? Yeah, I don't. You know, I lost my mom 11 years ago now, and my dad 2 years ago. And I've learned so much about grieving in between. And after my mom passed away, I was like, oh, I got it. Like the next time something like this happens again, I got it. I know what to do and what not to do. I know the boundaries that I'm going to set. I know what I'm going to communicate to my friends and family and all of that stuff. But one thing, so many things, but one of those things that remains so consistently true about grieving is that it feels like the world is rushing my grieving. And it feels unfair. Grieving, I think, is one of the most human experiences that anyone can go through. It's messy, it's ugly, it's beautiful, and so weird. I think it makes us so human in how in touch with our emotions we really become. And it's really truly the one space where we, no matter how much we might try, we can't be perfect. I really thought when my dad passed away, I was like, I know how I'm going to communicate my grieving to my friends and family and boundaries at work and XYZ, but grieving is so inconsistent and it's so unexpected, and it can show up sometimes in the most inconvenient moments. And so I've learned to just kind of let go of wanting to seek control. Rather than control, I have just allowed my vulnerability to just do its thing. Processing the emotions, processing the grief. And I also want to note that like grieving isn't always sad and depressing and anxiety driven, you know. It can be really beautiful in the joys and the gratitude and the excitement of some things. And yeah, sometimes some memories or some things that trigger memories can be really saddening. And there are also moments when it's like, that was a really great moment that we shared together. And so I think grieving is just so many different things. But when it comes to balancing, dude, does that even exist? I don't know. I think that grieving is one place where we just are allowed to be so human, so imperfect, and just not even do our best. I don't even want to say that, because that also still sets standards. And I don't know. I'm sorry if this isn't the advice that you were looking for. How to freaking, what is it called? Those tech bros, they use this term. It's like hack grieving. You can't. However, a practical advice I think I can give you is truly prioritize those moments when the feels come up. truly prioritize those moments to process memories, to process emotions, even if it's anger, process it. And then like set time aside for that as well. You know, if it comes up, like feel it. And if you can put set time for it, do it. And show up for the moments when you absolutely have to. Like if it's for work or something, for relationships, if you have the bandwidth to, you know, it's so much about self-awareness and emotional intelligence and bandwidth awareness and so many things like that. And hopefully you also have friends who have so much patience and grace with you, so that even if you were to able to communicate like, yo, I need space, and at the time, the messy moments when you don't know what the freak is going on, that they have the patience and grace to be able to just show up for you, or not, to just leave you alone, whichever it is. Because I think that when it comes to supporting somebody who is grieving, I've learned that my friends not physically showing up is still showing up for me, because sometimes I for real need my space. Sometimes I for real need my own time. When I was grieving my dad passing, I had my best friend living right upstairs, and she would check in with me. Are you okay? Do you want food? Let's go get food. Let's go get cookies. Do you want cookies? Like, she kept wanting to show up for me, and I said, I think I'm just like really in my caveman stage right now, and so if you can just like drop off the food at the door, that would be really helpful. But there were moments when I really for real needed space, but that was still them showing up for me. Sometimes showing up for me means don't physically show up. So yeah, communicating that if you're able to, if you had the awareness to, sure, do that. The dogs are barking, but if I can leave you with anything today, it's just, I mean, this is going to be an ongoing conversation, but if I can leave you with anything today, is just, yo, make space for those emotions, because, and prioritize it, because it is so unfair that the world continues to pressure us and have expectations for us, and almost keeps rushing us with no grace, and continues to expect that we can work at a high level and be a high performer and keep showing up at the same pace and the same execution. Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, maybe the first few months we're so filled with gratitude that maybe, yeah, but there will be moments when you just really need to be still. Honor those moments. You know, there were times, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a small business owner, I make my own money, and there were just obligations that I still had to show up to, but I was honest about it. I had speaking gigs where I was straight up, not in the beginning, but towards the end, I was like, y'all, this is my first time. My dad, like my parents, are both being able to witness me speaking right now, because both of them has passed on and I'm still grieving. But this is a part of, I mean, good thing I speak on mental health and grieving during my speaking engagements, and that's my topic. But I'm very honest about it, and I'm unapologetic about it. And at the same time, just, it sucks. I'm sorry, it sucks that there are certain obligations that we do have to show up for in life, but in order for us to still be able to execute, freaking capitalism, like, we still gotta make money. But in those moments when we gotta show up for the world, show up. You gonna do it anyway? Kill it. And before and afterwards, make sure that you're, you know, eating, drinking your water, resting. I was horizontal for so long. Even if I knew that I had like a speaking gig coming up, or even just a meeting coming up, I was horizontal right before a meeting or something. Right after the meeting, I'm right back at it. I'm horizontal. So there will be times when maybe you gotta just remain in bed. And that's okay too. I remember one time my friend we planned on like going out and getting lunch or something, but beforehand all we did was like I went over to her place, we laid down, and she just like wrapped me up in her blanket, and all we did was just sing Kehlani song after song, and that was so healing for me. And that's another thing about grieving, is that like whatever it is that you need to do in order to grieve, like it might not make sense to other people, it might not even make sense to yourself, but it's just works. You know, when I got back from Korea after laying my dad to rest, I used to drive all the way out to Malibu and just go to the beach by myself, and I used to never do that, but I just really needed that solitude. I think the reason why I keep talking about what I've learned from like my dad passing is because when my mom passed, all I did was drink. I'm gonna be straight up, like, yeah, that is not my advice. Yeah, all I did was, when my mom died, oh my gosh, I was junior in college, president of my organization, teacher's assistant for a 800 plus lecture hall, assistant manager at my job, plus being a student, like, and when I went back to school, like, my professors would be asking me, I can't believe that you're here, what are you doing here? And I'd be like, to me it only made sense for me to come back to school and finish school, because that's how I thought I could honor my mom. I don't regret it. It's just, now that I look back, I'm wowed by it. I'm really sad for my past self that me taking time off from school wasn't even a thought. But I mean, go about it however you feel, but I don't recommend drinking your life away. I don't recommend blacking out at parties. I don't recommend I don't recommend looking to substance to fill a void. And I know that that's easier said than done. I know that there are so many folks who turn to drugs to numb the pain, and that's what I did. At the time, like, therapy didn't work for me either. I didn't know how to grieve because I didn't know that grieving was even a word. I just kept trying to push through life as if everything was normal, like regular schedule, regular programming. I didn't understand. At the time, you know, social media wasn't really a big thing, so it's not like I could have like Googled this stuff or something. There's a lot of noise right now. A part of me kind of wants to be like, who am I to tell you to not turn to drugs and alcohol? But at the same time, maybe it's my obligation and responsibility to tell you, try not to turn to those things. And don't put too much pressure on our friends, you know. Grieving is such a particular experience. Let's allow curiosity to learn together, and I hope that you have friends who are supportive of that. My poor friends, they went through so much for me. I'm not gonna lie, yo, I was a B word. There they go again. But yeah, I don't recommend drugs and alcohol to grieve. But I hope you're able to find support and community. And that's another thing about grieving making people so human, is that, man, this world keeps telling us, like, you gotta be self-made and it's lonely at the top and you can't be out here asking for help. But oh my gosh, what is more human than experiencing our emotions and reaching out to other human beings for help? Vulnerability shows up so differently on so many different levels, and it's so empowering, and it just continues to remind us that we cannot do life alone. And one of the biggest things that I learned from my dad passing away is that, man, money's not going to show up to your funeral. The people who you have impacted are going to show up to your funeral. And what's most important in life is deepening relationships and creating memories. So reach out to help, whatever that might look like. If there's mental health resources at your job, at your school, friends, I guess I can say this now because of the world we live in today, but frickin' the internet, Reddit, or I guess following, what's wonderful about social media nowadays is also like access to resources, even free ones, especially. I'm personally still learning about those resources because I'm learning that as time goes by in each chapter, I'm needing different kind of resources. And so, for example, recently I decided like one-on-one therapy is not for me. And I'm going to start seeking out grief support groups instead, because I'm in a chapter now where I don't want to talk about it anymore. I also want to hear other people's stories. And the thing about grieving is that, like, the community of grieving is that there's this unspoken understanding of the suck that it is, but we don't have to spend our bandwidth like explaining it. Like, I just dream for an event I can host one day where all of us just go bowling together. Isn't that wonderful? But yeah, as you continue to grieve, it's not something that's going to just magically disappear and go away. I learned so much about myself, as well as what kind of people I need around me, as well as the boundaries that I need to set. Does that seem selfish sometimes? Yes, and it helps me show up at my very best. And doing what I do as a motivational speaker, encouraging people and pouring life into people constantly. I'm giving. Let me be selfish and let me just pour into myself too, and accept help, accept love, accept other people's gifts and blessings. Oh, it's such a long journey. It's been 10 plus years since mom passed and 2+ years since dad passed, and I'm still learning so much. And also know that they're always with you. Yes, we would prefer them to be with us physically. And how I see it is how wonderful it is that now my parents can be with me all the time. Ain't nobody gotta spend money on no flights to get nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I imagine them just being with me always, whether I'm speaking on a stage somewhere, whether I'm crying in my room, or special moments with my friends. I think one of the most beautiful things that my friends have been telling me is that even though they have never met my parents, they get to know a little bit about them through me. I think that's really beautiful. So take your time. It's so easy to fall for it. It's so easy to fall for the frickin' deadlines and high performance, hustle and grind, like all of this stuff. But take your time. I wish that was the advice that I got when my mom first passed. Like, take your time. It's gonna be a long journey, so take your time. Prioritize yourself. And if you need any more advice, I'm here for you. If you just want to sit in silence and process your emotions, I'm also here for you. If you want to go to a Kehlani concert, I'm also here for you. Man, that was honestly one of the most... It felt like a baptism. I went to Kehlani concert twice because that was the same year that my dad passed. Man, it was so healing. There's a video of me crying when I first saw Kehlani coming out. Kehlani actually reposted it. I went to see her twice. I went to see her in Vegas and I went to see her in LA. I'm so excited for her album. But anyways, I think it can be really easy to feel alone and lonely when it comes to grieving. But I think something that's also really beautiful about grieving is how easily and quickly it can connect you to complete freaking strangers. Because when you know, you know. If you know, you know. If you know how grieving be, you know. So, yeah. I'm here for you. And I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I want to encourage you and let you know that things will get better. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that that seems like impossible right now, and that sounds like a complete BS. There will be really hard days, but even in the rain or in the sun, I'm here for you. So I'm so proud of you. And you know what? If nobody else is gonna say it, I'll say it right now. If you need to go horizontal right now, take a nap. Naps are where it's at when you're grieving. Take a nap, like without an alarm. Take a nap. Give your body the rest that it needs. I hope this was helpful. I love ya.